Hare Krishna, welcome to the program. Srimad Bhagavatam and attentive Japa. Thank you for joining this morning. We have a wonderful class lined up. So let's make a start and let's do a quick prayer first of all. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we are talking about the Nara Narayan Rishis from Canto 10. So we are discussing the twin Rishis who appeared in Satyug as Nar and Narayan to teach us about tapasya. So what is this tapasya? Tapasya, Sri Prabhupada mentions that to get real freedom from conditioned life, you have to work for it. Freedom does not come automatically. Okay, so we need to endeavor, we need to make an effort. So suppose you are diseased, you are suffering from fever or some other painful condition. So to get free of the disease, you have to undergo some austerity. If you are suffering from a painful boil on your body, you have to undergo a surgical operation if you want to be cured, isn't it? So you have to do something about it. Like we have a material disease, so we have to do something about it. So therefore tapasya, some painful austerity is necessary to get free of the disease condition of material life. Formerly, the saintly persons or sages would practice many kinds of tapasya. In the scorching heat of summer, they would ignite fires all around and then sit down in meditation. Or they would go to the Himalaya mountains and in the pinching chilly cold, they would stay underwater up to the necks and meditate. Can you imagine that? It's amazing. So for God realization, people formerly used to undergo such severe types of austerities, but at the present moment we are so fallen that we cannot tolerate even those four principles, which are no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, and no gambling. That's the only tapasya we have been asked to do. We don't have to do those difficult maneuvers that were done in the past yugas. So for us, these are the items of tapasya for advancing in Krishna consciousness, these four regulations. Now Prabhupada says, is it more difficult to give up these things than to stay in water up to the neck in chilly pinching cold? You imagine that. So everything is relative. When we look at how much difficulty the previous devotees had to endure, then it would come very easy. This seems very easy to do. But if you look at the material side, in sense gratification, then you think it's difficult. But if you look at the bigger austerity, then it seems very easy. So still, this age is so fallen that even this primary tapasya we cannot execute. But as it is said here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, only by austerity can one realize God. Otherwise, it is not possible. There is no other means. If you want to realize Supreme, the absolute truth, then you must agree to certain types of tapasya. Simple as that. There are preliminary little tapasya like Ekadashi, the 11th day after both the full and new moon, in which devotees of Krishna abstain from all grains and beans. Actually, on the Ekadashi day, we shouldn't take any food or even drink water. That's the original way. But in our society, we are not observing it so strictly. So we say that on Ekadashi, you must not take any food grains, but you may take little fruit and milk. This is tapasya. So we cannot execute this tapasya if we are not prepared to undertake even this very, very easily executable tapasya. Then how can we expect to go back home? Back to Godhead, it will not be possible, Srila Prabhupada says. If you don't do any austerity, you find that there are a lot of religions and followings that they don't believe in tapasya at all. Just have fun. It's a big social gathering, but tapasya is necessary. There's some discipline is necessary if you want to go back home to Godhead. So by undergoing tapasya, by rejecting all these sinful activities, we can live a very simple and happy life. We can sit down on the floor, we can lie down on the floor, we don't require much furniture, nor do we need a large amount of gorgeous clothes. No, if we are serious about God realization, then some minimum tapasya must be there. This is wanted. So, these twin rishis, so we talked about tapasya now, what it's all about, and the twin rishis, Nara and Narayan, twin brothers, were known for their tapasya, and they paid to show us how to do this, teach mankind that tapasya is necessary. Otherwise, why would God come and show us how to do tapasya if tapasya was not required? Why would we waste his time doing? So, even sage Narad, he glorifies Krishna for being the regional sage. There's the pastime when sage Narayan, sage Narad Muni heard that Lord Krishna had killed Narakasur and had alone married many brides. Narad Muni desired to see the Lord in this situation. I want to see how the Lord copes with this. He thought it is quite amazing that in a single body, Lord Krishna simultaneously married 16,100 women. He already had 8 wives, so he just married another 16,100. Imagine that, each in a separate palace. Thus the sage of the demigods eagerly wanted to go to Dwarka and see how does Krishna manage this. So many wives, how can he manage as one person? The Supreme Lord is the greatest upholder of religious principles. Thus when he noticed Narad, he rose at once from Goddess Shri's bed, bowed his crowned head at Narad's feet, and joining his palms, had the sage sit in his own seat. The Lord bathed Narad's feet and then put the water on his own head. Oh, the Lord Krishna is the supreme spiritual authority of the universe and the master of his devotees. It was proper for him to behave in this way, for he is Brahmana Deva, Brahmanya Deva, the Lord who favors the Brahmins. Thus Sri Krishna honored the sage Narad by bathing his feet, even though the water that bathed the Lord's own feet becomes the Ganges, the Ganga Devi, the ultimate holy shrine. After fully worshipping the great sage of the demigods, according to Vedic injunctions, Lord Krishna, who is himself the original sage, so it's mentioned here, the original sage Narayan, the friend of Nar, conversed with Narad, and the Lord's measured speech was as sweet as nectar. Lord Krishna is mentioned as the original sage because the Lord appeared as a sage Narayan with twin brother sage in the Satyug time of Swayambhuva Manu. They were the children of Dharma, Yamraj, and Murti, daughter of Daksh and Prashuti. So this is the introduction to Nara Narayan. Now, Nara Narayan, these twin rishis appeared back in the Satyug to deliver the devotees and vanquish the demon miscreant. So when Krishna or when Lord comes, he doesn't come for just one reason. He has many reasons when he appears. Now Nar, this Nara Narayan Rishi, Nar is actually Arjun. Nar was better, we better know him as Arjun, and in the Dwapar Yuga. And Narayan is Lord Krishna as he appears in the Dwapar Yuga. Okay, so it's Arjun and Krishna come as twin brothers. The Lord took birth from the Murti's womb because she had prayed for the Lord to appear when a demon called Sasra Kavach, also known as King Dambo Dabav, was plundering, destroying, and terrorizing the demigods. He was pride personified. So there was a very dangerous demon that was terrorizing everyone. So Murti, Mother Murti, she was praying to God that please appear and vanquish these demons. So demons, as usual, always want invincibility and immortality, which they knew was not possible. So they used to find their own ways, just like Hiranyakashipu. They do austerities to please Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, or some other demigods. So also was the case with Sasra Kavach. So he meditated for years on Mandira mountain and paid austerities to Lord Surya, Suryadev. And when Lord Surya was satisfied with his austerity, he asked for a boon as follows: that he should naturally have 1,000 armors attached to his body. To kill him, one would have to meditate for 1,000 years. and fight with him for yet another 1,000 years, by which he would lose just one armor at a time. So when they kill him, after 1,000 years of fighting and 1,000 years of tapasya, he would lose just one armor, and he's got 1,000 armors. And in any case, there was also a clause that stated that if anyone breaks his armor, even one armor, he or she would die. So if you break one armor after all this effort, then you would have to die as well. Such a predicament for anyone wanting to kill him. So, very clever plot. So one day, after he's going on terrorizing everybody, and one day he came to Badrik ashram, where the twin rishis were residing, and he began to annoy the rishis. So this is what he should do. Where you see the tapasya going on, some yajnas going on, he would go and spoil them. Then Nar, as Arjun, Nar came up to him and in a challenging mood, and the demon says, "No one dares to stop me," he said to Nar. And he boasted about his bone that, you can't kill me, so don't even bother trying. Nar replied, "Well, actually, my brother Narayan has been doing austerities for 1,000 years, and I'm going to fight you for 1,000 years. So there, we're all ready for you." This way, they got the demon occupied and stopped him causing terror among the community. So now he's fighting for 1,000 years. So he doesn't have the chance to go around annoying people. So Nara Narayan were considered as one. Actually, sometimes they're mentioned as Nara Narayan Rishi. Instead of Nara Narayan Rishis, they mention, so it can be confusing. Sometimes we call them Nara Narayan Rishi, because they are considered as one. And sometimes mentioned as, like it says, Narayan Rishi rather than Rishis. Eventually, the one of the armors got destroyed. So 1,000 years of fighting, while Narayan was doing his austerity, Arjun was fighting, and the armor got destroyed, and now another 999 more to go. So they got rid of one armor, and in line with the boon, after destroying the armor, Nar collapsed and died. This is Arjun. He collapsed after destroying the armor. And straightway Narayan came running out, and with the mantra brought him back to life. Then they switched roles. Now Narayan fought with the demon, because he already just done another 1,000 years of austerity, tapasya, and he came to fight with the demon, while Nar went to meditate for 1,000 years. So they had planned this already. So Nar and Narayan took turns for fighting and meditating. So while one meditated, the other fought the duel with the demon, thus destroyed they destroyed 999 armors, and only one was left. So the demon knew his end was near, and he pleaded to the Surya there for help, because this was his last armor. He intervened and helped him. Lord Surya had promised Sestra Kavach, so it's called Sestra Kavach because it has 1,000 Kavach protection, and refused to hand him over to Nara and Narayan. Narayan Rishi told Suryadev that for this offense, for helping this demon, he would have to take birth along with the demon in Dwapar Yuga. So we know where this is going. So at this time there was a Pralaya, unearthed due to change of the Yuga from Treta Yuga to Dwapar Yuga, because of which the demon escaped death. But by his yogic power, the all-pervading Lord Narayan had declared that he himself would incarnate as Krishna, and the demon was to be destroyed by Nar in Dwapar Yuga, who would be born as Arjun. And so therefore, and the wicked Dambodav, known as Sestra Kavach, would come as Karan, combined with Suryadev. Therefore, in Dwapar Yuga, a direct expansion of Lord Surya, and Dambodvav was reborn as Karan with a single Kavach, as we know from Mahabharata. So he was born with a Kavach. That was his last Kavach. So we saw that at the time of Mahabharata, Indra was worried that Arjun would die if he tried to kill Karan, because anyone who destroyed even the last Kavach would die, because he had that boon. That's why Indra went to ask Karan for his Kavach in the morning, when Karan used to give charity and did not refuse anyone who approached him. So being an expansion of Suryadev, Karan was very charitable. So he gladly gave his kavach to Indra. But he was also the demon Dambodhva. So there's a twin personality or Sesra kavach. And this is probably why Karan was said to have a split personality. But anyway, so that was when Karan died, that was the end of Sahasra Kavach. So that's the story of Sahasra Kavach and how Nara Narayan together they destroyed him. There was no other way to do this. So God, he knows how to handle these demons. They might have some clever plot to get immortality or thereabouts, but Krishna knows how to, sort that out and kill them. So little bit of background about Badrikashram, where the Nara Narayan Rishis were doing meditation. It's very interesting. So Badrikashram, there is the personality Godhead in his incarnation as sage Nara Narayan, who's been undergoing a great penance since time immemorial. So they reckon Nara Narayan is still there, but we can't see them now. The presiding deity at Badrinath is a Shaligram, form of Lord Vishnu seated in a Padamasana, lotus pose. And Lord Badri Narayan's abode is protected by two mountain ranges, the Nar and the Narayan mountain. And the place is called Badrinath because it was once carpeted in wild berries, Badris, they're known. So Badrinath or Badrikashram in the Himalayas, the abode of Nara Narayan sages, is a great place of pilgrimage for the Hindus. And even up to the present, hundreds and thousands of Vaishnavas go to pay respects to the incarnation of Godhead Nara Narayan. And it appears that even 5,000 years ago, this holy place was being visited by such holy beings as Uddhav. So when Krishna left the material world, Uddhav went to see Nara Narayan in Badrinath. And even at that time, the place was known to be very, very old because it's from the Satyug. This particular pilgrimage site is very difficult to visit for ordinary men because of its difficult situation in the Himalayas, in a place which covered by ice almost all year. A few months during the summer season, people can visit this place at great personal inconvenience. It's a once in a lifetime experience actually. So the Badrinath temple is looked after by pujaris in the spring and summer. And then in the winter, even the pujaris leave because the temperature falls to like minus 70 degrees. Can you imagine that? Minus 70 degrees. So not possible for the human body to cope. And this is like going on right now. They leave the lamps burning. The pujaris leave the lamps burning in oil. And after many months in spring, when they return, the lamps are still burning after so many months. And it's believed that sage Narad Muni comes and fills the lamps in the pujari's absence. Amazing. And he has a transcendental body, so temperatures don't affect him. And I'm talking about like the present. This is what happens right now. And in the past times of Krishna Leela, when the Vrajvasis wanted to visit Badrinath, in the Himalayas, Krishna didn't want them to go because it would have been very difficult for them to reach it, and it's very cold and very, very difficult climb. So instead, he brought Badrinath to Vraj. So there's a Badrinath ashram in Vraj as well. And it's also believed that sage Vyasdev is still there in Tapovan in the Himalayas. And Madhvacharya went to get his darshan and his blessings about 4,000 years later. So maybe like 1,000 years ago, Madhvacharya went to get the darshan of sage Vyasdev. So we have 4 dams as Vaishnavas, or kingdoms of God, which we call them, which represent the planets of the spiritual sky. And these consist of Brahmjyoti and the Vaikunthas. These are Badrikashram, Rameshwar, Jagannath Puri and Dwarka. These are the 4 dhams we follow. And so faithful Hindus follow these holy places for perfection of spiritual realization, following in the footsteps of devotees like Uddhav and Madhvacharya and Mahaprabhu. So this is what we are doing. So amazing, amazing pastimes. And let's get some realizations now. And I think we'll start with our Prem Prakash Prabhu today, because we find that everything has already been said, so he doesn't get the opportunity. Prabhu, you there? Uh,
Yes, Raviji. I'm here, Raviji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I'm never the first one to go for it, but yeah, it's a wonderful realization. Basically, some places are like divine. So a lot of learnings are there, and to begin with, it's important that we need to understand that whatever we actually do, basically, whatever to begin with, the appearance of this Dhamma Rakshasa, basically,
Yeah.
from Brahmaji, basically. He came from Brahmaji, right? As far as I understand, because of like pride. Dhamma means anger and pride, something like that.
Idea.
Yeah, yeah. So he's not a very pleasing personality. So it seems like although Brahmaji is so exalted, but since if he gets somehow uh, kind of things basically which is not pleasing, then Dam Rakshas came out basically, and he is a disturbance for everyone basically. So it's also important to understand that we need to, being whatever, what we do has an implication what we get basically. Um, so we need to control our senses, our anger, and whatever we do. So the further we don't eat something which will come to us as material in the material world as we what we do. If we are just angry with some of when we're preaching, we are angry or we just lose our control when preaching. So it will come back to us. I mean, the person whom we talk to might not very much interested in continuing or appreciating Krishna consciousness. So that's one thing is there. So it's just metamorphical representation of what we how we need to do. It's also important that whatever we do, basically, however intelligent we are, whatever boon we get, we are not going to, if it is against the will of God or basically arrangement of Lord Krishna, then whatever intelligence we do, Krishna will find some way or other to actually annihilate it. So I mean, uh, although whatever intelligence that was used by this Rakshasa and later on became Sahasrabahu. Sorry, later than he gained Sahasra Kavacha, but and so many conditions basically. It's literally, if we see that it's Im, being immortal basically. I mean, 1,000 years somebody has to do tapasya, and then it's not very likely that immediately someone is going to come and fight with him. So 1,000 uh, into 1,000, it seems like for our perspective, it seems to be a lot of time, but he understands that it's never going to happen.
Yep.
But when devotee of Lord prays for the protection, basically Lord comes in different ways and protects. Basically, Krishna is beyond understanding, beyond our understanding, basically not understanding what we say, that he's beyond the material nature. He's not bound by boons and on. He If he needs to make something as an alternative, he is going to do that. It says that Prabhupada said that, I mean, if you want to cheat Krishna is the topmost. You can't cheat him by any means. So that's also important. Also it seems like also couple of things basically is there. uh, we need to focus basically on being on a good part of it. um, and that's what I can recall from really. There's not many other things like Badrik Ashram is there, which has got spiritual importance, and Rishis are still there, and people go and take worship. I mean, take dash. I mean, if they're lucky, they might go and have a darshan. But there are evidences in this world basically which actually puts forward that the things we are reading is not mythology. I mean, the English concept of coming through is mythology. Myth stands with myth, and then the studying of myth is absolutely not the truth, because we have evidences, we have praman, we have shastric evidences, we have got indications, sanket, that the things are there, still there in the world, and we can go and do research and find that out. Basically, that's such a wonderful thing. And somebody said that it's mythology for someone, but it comes to my theology. If we just say that, if you break it up, it's my and then theology. So it's my theology, my belief. Nobody is going to modify, even if you say it's mythology. It's still my theology, and that's the truth. So that's how I have to really to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, before I ask anyone, I wanted to ask. So next Friday, I don't think we should have a class because it's Kadashi, and we got Bhagavad Gita recitation, isn't it? So best not to have a class next Friday. It's also Christmas Day, so I think we can leave it next Friday. That everybody agrees with that? No, because I think it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, it is going to be longer. People will be preparing for it. Although, I mean, we might not be there, but it seems to be a long day. Yeah. So I mean,
We have
we
20
have higher purpose on Gita Jayanti on that day.
rounds to do, 25 rounds to do as well, and then join. So we have to get up at 2 o'clock or something, get the rounds out of the way, and then join the citation. So we haven't got any rounds left to do later on because we're tired after the 4 5 hours. So unless some people sit and do the chanting same time, but I wouldn't advise that. You should concentrate on the
Yeah.
verses. And that way,
It's better to. But I mean, obviously, I mean, people will have different circumstances. Really, we can't actually uh, understand how they will be chanting. But yeah, I mean, the best is to chant before, or at least not between the recitation. That's the best.
yeah. And the other thing is, then the week after, the Friday is New Year's Day. So people are going to be up late the night before. Now, does everybody want a class on the New Year's Day?
We should have it probably. What that's best to begin the new year, isn't it?
But are we okay with 8 o'clock?
I think we can, if people are not comfortable, we can delay a bit, an hour or something. Basically, it's holiday for everyone. That's okay. But I think we should. I mean,
We should
my
have,
opinion is we should have it.
I'm just worried that, because if you sleep like 12, 1 o'clock, will you be available? I think it should be, what do you think? 8 o'clock is good. Can everybody put their hand up, please, if you're okay with 8 o'clock?
Uh, I don't know. I'll go with the flow probably. Whatever you decide, that's okay.
I mean, we can do it. We can do the chanting later, isn't it? If we have any. If we can't think.
Yeah, I mean, it's depends basically. So we can have an opinion probably. Let's ask the opinion. I mean, offline as well. That's it.
Maybe,
I think I mean because if we do an hour late, so it also disturbs our rest of the schedule. Depends on that. It wouldn't disturb my schedule, but it depends how it goes. Basically, that's absolutely fine.
okay. All right. Let me think, and then we can do it. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivi.
Partha Prabhu, please add something.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, lessons from today's class is like Lord came in different forms to teach us how important is to perform the austerities
Yeah.
so that we can focus on spirituality.
So,
So, and as you said, like we just have only 4 things to follow, which is very simple. So we have to be very strict in in those 4 at least, with the association of devotees.
yeah.
And the second is, um, I mean, how smart you think anybody to escape like death, but everybody has to follow the nature of law or the plan of Krishna. So here he planned that he'll never be able to find a person who perform austerity for 1,000 years and fight for 1,000 years simultaneously.
Sure.
But ultimately Krishna has his own plan. That's why he comes every millennium to keep the bad things out. So he has his own plan. So don't try to be smart with Krishna because he has plan for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all, Prabhu.
I mean, one thing we know that when the demigods give us something, uh, any benedictions or boon, they have to go through Krishna. Okay, so that's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, and I think in Bhagavad Gita as well. Prabhupada has mentioned it. When demigods give us a boon, they have to ask Krishna first. So it's probably Krishna's idea. He says, "Oh well, I'm going down anyway, so you give him this boon, and I can do this and this at the same time." It's like going shopping, isn't it? So okay, I'm going to the shop. I can also get this at the same time. So it's like Krishna's shopping pastime. He said, "Oh, okay, I'm going there to do some austerity, and I can use that austerity to destroy this boon as well at the same time, isn't it?" So I'm sure the Surya Dev had to ask Krishna about whether he's okay to, what boon can I give him, or his demon is asking for this boon. What should I do? Krishna says, well, fine, I already found the loophole. Well, he thinks he's found a loophole, but I have also found the loophole to counteract his loophole. So yeah, Krishna is a very, he's the smartest, he's the most intelligent. So
Yeah.
can't fool him. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Jay Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah, I'll just highlight a few, 2 or 3 points. Firstly, you mentioned to be free from the material and realize God, we have to do tapasya. And you mentioned for this age, the tapasya you need to do 4 regular principles. But you also mentioned we have to do ekadasi, I think, which is outside the 4 regular principles. Yeah, the learning point from the story you tell was sometimes you can't go alone because of that boon here. They had to work, Nara and Narayan had to work together. It's like teamwork, so importance of that. And I think you mentioned is 4 dams or 4 holy pilgrimage places as well. So because you mentioned in other Ekadashi, it's outside the 4 regular principles. Are there any other tapasyas we should do that are outside the 4 regular principles? That's a question I've got.
I mean, there's a lot of things that, I mean, these are the vows we take. Okay, but one is also chanting. That's also a tapasya. Chanting 16 rounds a day. So following 4 regulations, chanting 16 rounds, and chanting 25 rounds on Ekadashi. When people get initiated, this is the vow we take, that we'll chant 25 rounds on Ekadashi and follow Ekadashi Varat. And then after that, you also have the appearance and disappearance of the acharyas. You have festivals where you will fast till noon or fast all day. So you build it slowly. You build it slowly. So first of all, when you come into the movement, you do so much. You do a little bit. You do a few rounds, and you don't necessarily follow Kadashi, and you're not necessarily following all the regulations, but you build it up. You build it up, and then when you're ready, you get initiated, and then you have this core tapasya that you follow, and then there are other rules and regulations, and not watching too much TV, and not doing this, not doing that. Don't go to restaurants, even if it's like vegetarian restaurant, eat prasad only. So you can take it to a level to purify yourself. That's the idea. You don't have to do it all at once, but you try and purify yourself from material contamination as much as possible. I mean, like sometimes said that don't eat in restaurants because the food is cooked by non-devotees, and whatever their consciousness, the food, whoever cooks the food, their consciousness is in their food. That you will also attract that consciousness. So we try and eat the food cooked by devotee, or at least it's offered to Krishna as and then eaten as prasad. So you can go into the detailed part. There's a principles that you follow, and then you go into more detail, of things. But that comes slowly over the years. That you restrain your mind and your senses, which will get upset about it, like a child when you are saying you can't have this and that. And so why? I've had this all my life. What's changed now? Where you have to explain by your, uh, you know, intelligence, by reading the scriptures, why these things are not allowed. The mind never understands. Even till now, the mind never understands. Then you have to remind the mind why this is wrong and why we're following this, why we even chanting. You have to remind yourself. So that's the idea. Yeah,
I
Paul?
just got one other question. Is Narayan another name for Vishnu, or is he another avatar of Vishnu?
Yeah, it's interchangeable. Sometimes we call Narayan, and sometimes we call Vishnu. Yeah, it's the same person. Narayan Vaikuntha. It's known as Narayan in Vaikuntha.
Okay, thank
The spiritual world is Narayan. So it's interchangeable. Sometimes we say Narayan, sometimes we say Vishnu. But very good question, Prabhu. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Madhu Shamsundar Prabhu, I'd like to add something, please.
Hari Bol Prabhuji.
Very well.
Now, very nice class. Other devotees cover everything. So, I don't want to add anything. That's very nice class. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you. And Bikuni Mataji?
Very interesting class, Prabhuji.
Yes, good.
And there is so many characters in this katha
Yeah.
and everything beyond our imagination. Very surprising
Yeah.
and very, very interesting class today.
Yeah, I mean, I always wondered about Nara Narayan Rishi, and I really wanted to know who they were and what pastimes they had, and it's amazing how they were linked to. I didn't know that's how they were linked to Karan. You know, amazing
Yes.
thing to learn. Something new.
Yeah, something new. Yes, this is I heard first time all these characters and story, this katha.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Prabhuji, thank you very much for this nice
No,
class.
I mean, we have some more kathas for later on. I think next week we'll do well, not next week, the next time we'll talk about the Hamsa Avatar. That's the swan form of the Lord. We'll discuss that. That's also something I really wanted to know about. So we'll discuss that next time. And on Sunday,
Yeah, we ourselves we can't find all these stories. It's better to hear from somebody. Say it will be easy, and you know the best to give the class which subject. So when we open the Bhagavatam, we are confused what to read. So many stories.
yeah,
So this is a nice opportunity to attend the class in a 1 hour. We get a lot of knowledge and we know what to do, what to hear. So very, very useful this class.
absolutely.
Thank you, Prabhuji, so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, Saveshi Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Well, most of the things are discussed.
Yes.
What I can say is that Nara Narayan, they're still in Badrinath and they still meditating, and they're meditating and doing strategies for the well-being for the people. And I said they're very selfless characters. What they do, they don't do for themselves.
Oh,
They
yeah.
do it for the people in general, to
Yeah.
benefit them. Just like in the Nara Narayan Rishi forest, Shaunak Goswami, Shaunak Rishi, with the other rishis, 28,000 rishis, they done sacrifice for 1,000 years, just for the benefit of the devotees and Lord Krishna. So this Nara Narayan, I think they're still meditating and for the well-being of all the living entities and for our benefit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what I can say. The other things have been discussed. I don't want to repeat it again.
Thank you so much. Okay, we can maybe start round now then. Should we just start?
Yes, we start.
Thank you.
Who is starting today? Who is first?
You can do. It's okay.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advait Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.